Hey guys, how is it going? I hope for those of you who celebrate Christmas had a wonderful Christmas and that you got to spend some time with your family. I know I did. So today I'm like in a relaxed, blase mood. I just want to play with my makeup. I don't want to think too hard about it. I have a couple products that I want to talk about today and play with. So the first one, of course, I got my Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt palette, which is now available everywhere in the mail. So I'm going to play with this. Let's get into the reason we are all here today. This is the new Mini Eye Sculpt eyeshadow palette that just launched at Natasha Denona, Beautylish, Ulta, Sephora. It's in all the places. I ordered this time from Sephora. It came nice and fast. This is $27. And I was actually looking at some of the photos because in my shopper drop, the photos hadn't yet been released. So obviously this is a very, I've been saying boring, but it's a very neutral, plain, essential kind of palette. And the looks, it's good to check out her website because they do have some inspo for you for an everyday look, a smoky look, a sculpted look. They even show on hooded eyelids, which very rarely do brands market with hooded eyelids in mind. They even have mature hooded eyelids, just like you see it right here. I think that's incredible that she did that, as well as looks for small eyes, for deep set eyes. Really awesome. I love the inclusion here on different eye shapes. I'm going to do a look that I'm pretty familiar with, that I would typically do with this palette today. But she describes this as a all matte neutral palette with iconic pigmented formulas that effortlessly sculpt and blend to create everyday two dramatic looks. So they did something really fun with the packaging this time. Obviously it's normally pushed in like this, but what I like about this palette is they even gave like a look idea of where to place the colors. Each shade has a name from fair to light to medium, deep to black, but they also have the numbers of where she would suggest to put them on the eyelid for that kind of look. The palette is made in Italy with a 24-month shelf life. It is the classic packaging for this mini, guys, so nothing new here. Now there's two different formulations. We have two silky mattes, and then we have three creamy mattes. If I'm being honest, I don't really notice a difference from one formula to the other. I'll see today, but in the past, I just felt like they were the really good Natasha Denona matte formulation. Let's get some quick swatches in. We'll start off with the silky mattes. Wow, nice and pigmented. Okay, let's see. Can I tell a difference for these next two? Not really. Wow. I'm gonna build up number 3 here. And I like how this one is nice and cool. I felt like online this looked a little bit peachy and warm, and especially this one, but these are leaning more neutral than I anticipated. This black's not swatching fantastic, but we'll be careful about blacks here. So one thing that I noticed right away with the swatches that caught my eye is this seems very, very pigmented, this fair shade right here, for it being such a light shade. Ooh, I'm excited to just get these on the eye. So let me prep my base here. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm just going to use a little bit of concealer here in the inner corners. And then what is left on my brush, I'm just going to even out my eyelid. Sorry, this isn't as formal of a review as normal, but day after Christmas, you know? I really just wanted to play with these more than anything. See what we're thinking. We'll be back to regular scheduled programming, of course, in the new year, but I am trying to take a lot of time at the end of this year and into early next year to just relax. So immediately what I need to do is see how pigmented this light shade is. So I just used a softer brush and that brightened it up perfect. But I want to also see it with more of a densely packed shader brush. Okay, it's not as like bright and white, I feel like, as I swatched it with my finger, but it's perfect for just this brightness in the area. You see how that lifts the brow up. I'm also going to take that with a flat shader brush. This one's from What's Up Beauty. And I'm going to brighten the inner corner area, just like so. I mean, okay, how stunning is that? It is quite silky. So let's see the buildup of these shades. So this shade right here, the light shade, looked pretty close to my natural skin tone. But it is kind of that perfect background for a really light natural look because it is actually about a shade deeper than my normal complexion, so it actually is adding a really natural shadow. In the promo photos, I felt like this one especially looked like it had a slightly warm peachy undertone, and I'm just not getting that. If anything, it's a little bit more of a pinkier undertone, but not like a warm pink, more of like a cooler pink. But that did add some really nice natural depth. So when I would use this shade would be A, to make shadows I'm putting on top blend easier, or B, just if I'm doing like a no makeup look but I still need a little bit of depth in the crease, this adds that without taking away from the no makeup look. Next, we're going into the third shade. Just blending this out. I mean, if you like the Natasha Denona matte formulations, what I'm getting from this right here is absolutely no different. Super buildable, super creamy, super blendable. This is definitely going to be one of those palettes. You throw this in with an Urban Decay Moondust shadow and that's all you're going to need. And I love an all matte look, you know, turns out. I always go for shimmers because they're pleasing to my eye, but whenever I do an all matte look, I'm like, oh, so flattering. I'm going to go ahead and take a smaller brush from Rephr, and I'm going to run this along my lower lash. And this is one of those quality shadows where if you just build it up and layer it up more, you can get more depth, which is a telltale sign of a really fabulous quality matte shade. Okay, moment of truth. Now, another way to do looks besides the one that I'm doing, if you want to go more smoky, you lead with these colors. On the eyelid, on the lash line, that's how you're going to get some smoky options there. If you take a look at the Natasha Denona website, they'll give you some inspo. But do you see how dark and pigmented that is? Let's make sure she's easy enough to blend here, which I would say seems to be. Yeah, blending really gorgeously. You could also use this shade as an eyeliner. I'm gonna take this and run it along my lower lash line. I think I might actually go in with a pencil brush. I'll do that after, but I am very pleased with how deep and pigmented this formula is. And I'm still standing by. I can't really tell too much of a difference between the creamy matte versus silky matte formulation when it comes into play on application, but that's just my findings. I mean, if you're purchasing this palette, it's not because you don't already have these colors if you're an eyeshadow palette collector. It's because you have the Natasha Denona formula in such a small, portable style of packaging all in one place. And it is not disappointing. Now, another great use of this light shade is to help blend out other neutral tones if you really want to get that hazy edge. And the better the blend, the more you kind of look like you know what you're doing. Stunning. I think I'm going to use the black today as an eyeliner. I'm going to go back in with my shader brush, and I've ultimately decided fair is going all over the eyelid. Just that simple, classic style of eye look that is flattering on just about everybody, every eye shape, every skin type. It's a really nice universal placement of colors. I'm going to take a pencil brush and I'm just going to build this up down here. Get a little bit of a smokier eye going on. And finally, I'm taking BK Beauty Nikki La Rose N11 and a black, well, the black in the palette, and I'm just gonna press this into my lash line. Now, what I did feel with this black creamy shade is it's a little bit of a harder press than the other formulas, but I think that's a good thing when using black eyeshadow comes into play. And obviously I'm using it in such a small way today, but it's applying great for just a nice black line. And you can do this with the brown as well for something a little bit softer. But I wanted to go for classic black liner. And next up, I'm taking my pencil brush once again, and I'm going to soften this guy out. And then I'm not going to do like a harsh wing. I'm literally just extending the black out, taking, not that one, taking my pencil brush, and I'm just going to create a blended out extension, like the most subtle wing known to man. Truly that. It doesn't need really any shape because we're going to clean that up with some concealer. So it's like a faux wing, if you will, just to extend the eye. I mean, to put it plain and simple, you guys, beautiful quality, just what I expected from this. It's not going to be for everybody. You probably don't need this if you have somewhat of a collection of eyeshadows. But if you want that Natasha Denona formula, I think this is a beautiful little palette. It creates a really simple look, but of course you can get a couple other looks with this. It's going to be really versatile in your collection for what you can do with this. And if you just have it beside you, I think you would be surprised at how often you would reach for 1 or 2 shades at a time because it just has those essentials. And for 27 bucks, I'm not mad at this. I think it was a great piece to have in her collection. She absolutely needed something like this just to have in the line and fulfill that need. Quality is of no question on this palette. I mean, the one thing I was unsure about was if these were going to pull warmer in person or what, but I feel like they truly do lean neutral, just kind of those classic neutral undertoned neutral shades, not leaning more one way than the other. I mean, if this caught your eye in the first place, and if you feel as if this is going to fill a hole in your collection, something that you can utilize, whether it be for travel or just to have as your right-hand man whenever you're doing your eyeshadow, I think that this is really, really great. So let me go ahead and put on some mascara. Okay, eye makeup, we love. Obviously, really excited about this eyeshadow palette. Where it lacks kind of in the fun department, I think it makes up for in its functionality. And I know for a fact, especially based on the palettes that I've used the most this year, that I'm going to get a lot of use out of this baby. I just think it's going to be that go-to palette that you have on the side when you need a certain shade. So no disappointments there. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me and just playing with some new products. I wanted to pull out a few different blush palettes to compare the formulations. So if you have the My Dream Cheek Trio, it's time to get cheeky because in my hands, I have, wait, let me show you. The new Natasha Denona High Blush Cloudy Cream Cheek Duo, and yes, I did receive this in PR, however, I ordered them and they came in the exact same delivery as the PR package, so I'm gonna have to do a giveaway. But anyways, today I am going to be swatching and trying on all 6 of the new shades of the Natasha Denona blush duos, and they look pretty beautiful. I'm very excited about this. While I say Natasha Denona, definitely the bread and butter is the eyeshadow palettes, she throws down some good cheek products, so I'm excited. That being said, more blushes. One, thank you. More blushes. It's exhausting, my poor cheeks. I only have 2 of them, but we have a new formula. We're going to test these today. I really need to take those Christmas decorations down. Maybe I'll stop by Home Goods tonight. Let's go over the details of this. So you can get this on the Natasha Denona website or Sephora. It's available on both parts. I recommend personally ordering from Natasha Denona because this is how well packaged my own personal order came in. Like, these are not coming broken. Sephora, it's a little iffy. Well, you know what? These are cream. So order it from wherever you want. These are $42 each, but a reminder, you do get a blush and a highlight And this is a unique cream blush and highlighter duo with a semi-matte finish for a natural, buildable, and long-lasting flush of colors. This formulation is a cream, but it kind of has like a powdery dry down as you blend it out, from what I felt, because they say it's a lightweight gel texture, but as you blend it out, it really thins out. You'll see when we get to the demos here. Trying to think of any other details that might be of importance to you. Not really. It's chic innovation, as they say. Unique cream blush and highlighter. Clean, vegan, semi-matte, and balmy glow finishes. Nourishing ingredients to hydrate the skin, which honestly I think is very important for this time of year because my cheeks are dry. Very, very dry and scaly. So a formula like this is really good, and it's supposed to be a buildable flush of color. Not much really to say about blushes, so I'm going to go ahead and take you to the swatches because this is just a fair warning. My camera, while lovely, great, amazing, high-tech, expensive, does not catch pinks really well, so I'm going to put an overlay of my phone, and that's a little bit more true to color. So I'm going to swatch them on my phone. You'll take a look at them there. So here's the packaging the blush comes in, and then here is the back, which says made in Italy, 18-month shelf life. Now, the color of the packaging corresponds with the color. This is the lightest color in the collection. This is Sweet Cheeks. So this is the blush and this is the highlight. So it's a baby pink. You can see it's almost like a, I don't know how to describe this. You see it. You see it? It looks how it feels. And then an icy pastel pink highlight, which feels more like a cream as well. So both of these are cream. This one just has more of a matte feel to it. Almost like a putty cream hybrid. Because you see, as you blend in that blush, it almost turns into a powder. I feel like the highlights remaining pretty creamy, but they're very thin feeling, very silky. Again, this is Sweet Cheeks. Simply Shy is the next one. This is a light dusty coral blush with an icy light pink highlighter. This highlight feels drier. So this definitely has some more peach to it. The highlight seems pretty sheer, but I built it up and it seems pretty close to what Sweet Cheeks was, but again, this is Simply Shy. Fresh Mauve, which has a mauve blush and a glowy nude highlight, as they say. Oh, this one would be so pretty on medium skin tones. This is one of the ones that I picked for myself that I purchased, but I think that the highlight might have been not very highlighty on me, more of like a blush topper experience, but that's really, really pretty. Again, this is Fresh Mauve. This is for my bold blush lovers, Flirty Flush. So we have, they say this is a coral. I mean, it's very, very hot with a golden pink highlight. Oh, here we go. This is the blush. This is the highlight. Oh my gosh, if you have a deep complexion, these last two I think are going to be great options. Look at that. This highlight is so pretty. On my skin tone, it probably will work as a blush. We'll see the highlight I'm talking about. But again, Flirty Flush. Next, we have Flustered, which is an icy pink highlight and a pomegranate blush. That's what they're looking like. This blush has a ton of pigment, a lot of pop to it. And you'll see how that first layer of the highlight seems to be sheer, but it can be built up. Stunning. Just one more to go. This is the deepest one. Vamped is the name, with a mahogany blush and an icy peach highlight. We'll have to see the pigment on this one. Yeah, that definitely has the most depth here, and I think these do a good job of looking in pan how they do on swatch. So for the lineup, we have Sweet Cheeks, Simply Shy, Fresh Mauve, Flirty Flush, Flustered, and then Vamped. All of these are a lot more pinky and warm. It makes sense for the time of year, for the spring, summer, upcoming Valentine's Day. I wish there was more like nudes and brown-based kind of colors. Maybe some more neutral, cool tones, but I haven't put these on yet at the time that I'm filming this, so I'm excited to get these on. Let me know what you think. So we're going into Sweet Cheeks first. Now, for application, Natasha recommends to use a dense brush. I'm using the F4 from Makeup by Mario. Yeah, this is Sweet Cheeks, which is quite bright. Okay, let's see. Decent amount of pigment for this being the quote-unquote lightest shade. And it does have kind of a natural matte finish. Nothing balmy in this one, really. I think that this formulation is going to be good on a lot of different skin tones as well. You have, I would say, some versatility to really build this up if you want to get more vibrancy, but if you want to get it more sheer, it's possible as well. But that soaked into the skin, not in a bad way, just blended with my foundation really easily. I have on L'Oreal True Match today, which is like a really nice soft natural matte finish. And this is just working with that finish really beautifully. Easy to apply, super duper buildable, which is great news for my more melanated followers. Cute, very bright. I worry some of these are going to look similar on the cheeks. Now, the highlight is a thinner formulation, and I feel like it has less pigment. I don't know what brush I want to use. This is one from Kaleidos. I don't know if I'm going to like this with it. Oh, I think this one might need to be used with a finger. I'm not a cream highlight fan, as most of you guys know. I find the best way is with a finger, and I'm finding that right now as well. It's fine. It's not acting funky with any other product, really. And on my skin tone, there's no cast left with this one, which will be more important to note as we get to the deeper colors. It is catching to a little bit of dryness right here. I don't have any powder on my skin. The glow is pretty though. I want that to settle in a bit. Dare I say the blush looks a little patchy here? I'm just gonna reapply the finger. Sorry, I'm working through it verbally with you guys here. And she says also if you want even more vibrancy, more glowiness, you can then go back in with the blush over top. It's a bit extra for me, but I'm gonna go in with this highlight maybe. Oh, I actually like this flat side of this brush here to apply the highlight. Okay, that's pretty now that I've really blended it out and worked it into the skin, but I don't know if you can see. Oh gosh, am I about to get kicked off Natasha Denona's PR list as soon as I got added to it? Oh, then so be it if that's the case, but do you see it's just like a little clumpy right here? I'm gonna have to investigate that further. Luckily, we have like 5 more to try on to see if this was an application error or a product error. Or I just got crusty skin, which is true. So I think it's just my skin. We'll see, we'll see. Okay, so next let's move on to Simply Shy, which actually this one's kind of the lightest one, the most neutral one. I'm flipping the brush for Makeup by Mario. This one definitely has more peach to it. Oh, I so wish it had a little bit more neutralness to it. But these are working out beautifully on the skin and just combining, meshing, I guess is the word I'm looking for, with the foundation really naturally. It actually looks quite airbrushed. Wow, super easy blend out. I think this is a good cream option for oily skin as well. Okay, I do want to clear something up, that some of that chunkiness I'm attributing a lot to just what my skin is going through right now. I think it's just there. I don't think any product's gonna help it. Okay, now let's try the highlight. I'm always nervous about using a brush to apply this. I think I like this side better. Something a little bit more dense. I don't know. As a cream highlight hater, I'm struggling with this highlight. This one in Simply Shy feels a little drier than Sweet Cheeks. Finger is the best, I've decided. Just slowly work it in and take your time. The glow is pretty, but you'd catch me just using a powder highlight. I wish this was a powder highlight personally, just like a really creamy powder highlight, but these are pretty. Can you tell the difference between the two? You definitely don't need both of these. Let's pick one. Let me do an overlay on my phone so you can see. Sweet Cheeks, Simply Shy. Sweet Cheeks is definitely a little brighter. Let's see. I want you to see the texture here, which is there, but I feel like it's looking better as it's settling into the skin, honestly. Pretty. Okay, let me clean my cheeks off and we'll get to the next round. Okay, Fresh Mauve is one of the ones that I ordered using the new BK Beauty 116 brush. This one I think is going to give you a glowier finish, more of that balmy look from what I can tell. Yeah. Well, it's not really balmy. I kid. I think this one has like a little bit of extra glow to it compared to those first two, but nah, it blended out to matte. Not in a bad way, by the way. I think it looks really nice. This looks particularly blurred with this brush. Wow. Okay, applied with the 116 from BK Beauty. That was such a stunning, seamless application. Ooh, I think this one might be my favorite blush. Let's see what we think of the highlight. I want to try it with this brush. It just applied so good. No, too sheer. So this one does leave a cast on me, leaves a lot of color. But obviously, I think if you have like medium skin tone, you will be fine. It's also not as glowy on my skin because of that deeper shade. But this one feels creamier than the other highlighters. Honestly, this for me is more of like a glowy blush topper to put on top. And it's quite pretty, but you can see it just doesn't have that reflect. But it also looks more seamless on my skin. It's not attaching itself to dry patch at all. This one might be my favorite. It's not a highlighter by any means on me, but that's super pretty. It's very corally, even though they say it's mauve. It's not giving mauve to me. But I like this, especially if you have a medium complexion. I think that's going to be super pretty. Let me clean off this brush. Flirty Flush is next. Oh, this one scares me. She's vibrant. Okay. Good buildable formula. I like the formula. Buildable from 0 to 100 though. Let me work on working this out. This one is super vibrant. Got a little patchy here. Maybe I'm pressing too hard. Let me go a little softer. Yeah, don't press too hard. It's working out my foundation. But that's just in general, not about this product. Okay, this is giving NARS Orgasm. Just gonna, on me, not a highlight, but these are close in depth levels, which I think is interesting. They didn't make the depth levels in these darker shades too different from one another. Again, you can't really see the glow quite as much. You can see that gold shift a little bit. I still think it's very pretty. Let's pull out the camera. So we have Fresh Mauve here, Flirty Flush here, very vibrant, not directed towards my skin tone, of course, so I'd hope it would be vibrant. But you can definitely see the color differences very, very well between these two, and you'll see not a dry patch in sight, which I think is interesting. You know what I need to try? Hold on. Wait, get one more look here. Let me see if it's just the highlights in the first two. So I'm going back into Sweet Cheeks. No, this is applying more buttery than that first time. Strange. I guess because it's lighter, it is emphasizing dryness a little bit more, but it's not bad. I feel like that layering kind of helped added an extra layer of hydration. But by nature, with it being lighter, it is attracted more to emphasizing some texture, but it's not bad, at least right now. Okay. Last two colors, Flustered and Vamped. So this one's Flustered. Let's see. Like they say there's two different finishes, but I just see the one matte one. Like the first application of this, whew, it's so stunning. And then the second you add that second layer, it's like bam. That's very pretty. Let's do the second layer. Like you see, it really builds up quickly, which I think is awesome. Okay. Then let's get into the highlight here. This one is a little bit more contrast than the previous two. That one's pretty. Can you see? So that does add a pretty little zhuzh to the look. But again, the highlights aren't my cup of tea here. Not a bad cup of tea, but like I want to put a powder highlight over it. Okay, the last one is Vamped. I'm excited to try this one. So you can see the blushes are all very blushy, flushy, warm, pinky, peachy. Definitely would have loved more of like some brown based or plummy based highlight, or not highlights, blushes, which I feel like a lot of brands are doing. This one, you can definitely build it up to get more of this vampy mahogany color, but it does blend out to be very, very warm. Okay, and then this icy peach highlight, which, oh, strong cast on me. No highlight going on here. So for me, this one is almost more of a blush. But it does add that pretty glow. I like the deeper highlighters a little bit better, honestly. For me, I think they're more flattering. Not as highlights, but just all over the cheeks. Okay, so now that I've tried all 6, the feelings of the formula, right? I feel like these truly are a cream to powder dry down. It thins out so much on the face that even if it doesn't dry down, it feels like it does because it's that thin and airy and lightweight, which is awesome. The highlights are even thinner, but they stay creamier than the blushes. Not my cup of tea for highlights. Let me show you. Flustered, Vamped. You know what, on here, Flustered looks really nice. I say one thing and then I feel like I turn on this camera and I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. So if you're familiar with Natasha Denona cheek colors, I wanted to pull out a few different blush palettes to compare the formulations so you kind of have a better idea of what you're walking into. So if you have the My Dream Cheek Trio, none of the new formulas are like anything in here. This cream blush definitely is more powdery. This glow cream base is more gel-like, more creamy, more sheer, more wet, more metallic. And this Dream Glow, there's just not one in there like that. So those are very different. The Berry Pop Cheek Trio, again, this cream blush is truly much more powder. I talked about the new formulation feeling like it dries into a powder, but it does truly start off feeling more creamy and wet than anything Natasha Denona has. This is a different formula and this is a different formula, but I just wanted to share that this is much more powdery. I also pulled the Love Glow cheek palette from a few years ago from their holiday, well, which one was it? Valentine's Day collection. Nothing in here is like anything formulation-wise that you'll get. And then this is kind of an OG, a little bit more for my followers who have been around longer and fans of Natasha Denona. I knew keeping a hold of this was a good idea in my declutter. The Diamond and Blush palette. These were so good, but they are very, very chunky. Now, not a highlight formula like this. I would say when it comes to the highlight formulas that Natasha Denona has in the new ones, these are truly a new formulation than what she's done before. Now, this blush, I was curious. So this blush in this palette feels more dry. Maybe that's due to age, but it has more of like a clay-like, putty-like formulation. So I'm kind of taking back where I said this feels putty-like. It's a little bit because it starts off with that matte looking layer over top, but as you dig in, it is truly much more creamy than you'd expect. But as you blend it out, it thins out really nicely, which gives it that almost matte dry down. And as I've been trying to explain this highlight formulation, it does feel like a cream as well, but it feels even thinner. And I think personally it needs to be a little bit more glowy. It is more on the subtle side with all of the shades that I have today. So overall thoughts, are these worth the $42? In my personal opinion, maybe like 1. This is definitely not a line that I feel like it's necessary to own all of the shades, because at the end of the day, I feel like all of them give a similar kind of blushy, flushy look. You know, go for the undertones, go for the highlights that appeals to you the most, that would match your skin tone the best, but they all give a similar effect on the cheek. I like the blush formulation. I think the blush formulation is pretty unique as a blush can be for the market, and how it really blends out, shears out really easily, but also builds up so quickly. How it just fuses into the foundation to make the layer look really thin and not like you're layering on product. As a non-cream highlight person, I'm really not one to say too much about it, but it's not a bad cream highlight from what I've experienced, but it also isn't knocking my socks off. In a lot of cases, a lot of these colors, I do feel as though it's a little dull, but it still looks pretty from afar. You know, the glow is still pretty. It's not a bad product. But had I not gotten these in PR for every shade and was still doing this review just with the 2 shades that I bought, I would not be running out to purchase more of them, but I would certainly be very happy with the ones that I had. So you guys know, no matter what, even if my favorite brand ever sends me PR, I'm not going to BS ya. I'm going to tell you how it is. So I hope you guys found this review helpful. I think at the end of the day, there are just so many blushes on the market. This isn't something that you need to run out and buy, but I think it's a good formula. And if you love Natasha, you want to support the brand, I don't think you'd be disappointed with it, but I think you'd be disappointed if you purchased all of them because they're expensive and they'll add up quickly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review and found it helpful. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will have the links if you are interested in purchasing them or just want to check out the pages. I'll have them down below for you guys, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys, have a good one. Okay, I'm all prepped for the new mini eye sculpt palette from Natasha Denona. I talked about this in my shopper drop that I'm not excited about this, and it's a lot after following the launch of those 2 giant sculpt palettes already, which I do feel were kind of warm. So I think there is a place for this, and you guys let me know that you were excited about this, those of you who like the more gray toned neutrals, but this is $27. I love these little guys. And this is a play off of the one that launched last year, which is the OG. This one is more neutral. So let me show you how they compare to one another side by side. So the top is the new Sculpt Cool Tone palette, and the bottom is the original one. And you know what? I can see that the cool one is making the original one look a little bit more warm, especially with the 3 brown shades here. So the OG one is on this side. There's definitely more yellow in the lightest shade, for sure. This is almost more pink. This definitely is more chocolatey versus these are much more gray and beigey. And this has more gray in it as well. I think this is more of a true deep dark black. And before I do the side-by-side swatches, this is the Cool Tone palette swatched. Felt pretty on par with the original. This palette is made in Italy. And then for swatches, here's where you can really tell the difference as well. Cool, Original. So they are different from one another, and those undertones are going to play a huge difference on the eyelid, especially depending on your undertone. So if you do like these gray tones, it's going to look so good on you. I tend to lean for neutrals that are more like this, where they're not necessarily warm, but these are very clearly more gray. So I just did the most simple look that I could do that involved all 5 shades, so I could demo them for you. So my concern was with these 2 shades, they look pretty similar with only slightly different undertones. So I'm going to show you them side by side. I do have the Thrive Cosmetics Eye Lift eyeshadow primer on underneath. Yeah, this palette, I mean, I know I've been saying this, it's very, very gray. I felt like when I saw the looks online that the looks looked pretty gray, and I was like, oh, maybe she used some of the more gray tones. But starting off from right here, it does set the tone for being pretty gray, which I'm less likely to reach for. I don't dislike gray eyeshadow. There's a time and a place for it, but I do typically prefer a little bit more true brown. So just be warned that this is a very gray palette, but you might like that. And then I just wiped my brush off, and I'm gonna go into the shade right next to it so you can see the difference. It's slightly deeper, maybe a hint more taupey, but that way you can see the difference. I wish there was just a little bit more difference between the 2 shades. It's there, it exists, but for example, in the original one, the 2 shades here I feel like are more different than these 2 shades. These 2 shades are a hair too close to one another, in my opinion, but you can see it's working out really easily. Typically, shades that are cooler in nature are harder to formulate and harder to blend out. So I'm just taking this 3rd shade, also running this along the lower lash line. Then with a Rephr 14 brush, we're going into this charcoal gray shade. This, she says, is a medium dark cool. Well, that's the name of it. And that is going in my outer corner, and I'm blending that and deepening the crease. Natasha's mattes, though, I do feel tend to lean a little bit more on the warmer side. So for those of you who want Natasha's formula in a more truly gray tone, I know you guys are going to be so excited for this. That's fine. Just a little bit of a deeper gray. And then I noticed with this white, it kind of blends into those tones and becomes kind of like multi-shades of gray as it layers over the other shades, which is nice. But this is a nice white shade. It really does brighten the look as well. Packs on pigment very nicely. Just gonna pop this in the inner corner, blend out as necessary. Very, very cool. And then I'm taking an angled brush, pressing this along my lash line, taking a smudge brush and just softening that for something more smoky. Oh, and I forgot, I did take the darker gray shade. Boom. That's the look I'm going with today. Let me pop on some lashes. I popped on some Kiss Pompadour lashes, and here is the eye look that I got with the palette. I mean, it's very, very nice. It's the same quality as the original. It's the same quality if you're familiar with Natasha Denona mattes, which are very, very easy to use. And you know if this is going to be a palette for you and a color story for you. I think for me, now that I have it in person, I'm taking a step back from favoring it because it's a bit too gray for me, even though I've said that a billion times. But I know a lot of you are actually excited for that. So we do have that. We'll see how much I end up using this, but I'm going to have to do some more grayscale kind of looks. Every time I put on gray, I'm like, ooh, I want to do more. So I definitely plan on playing with this more. The new Natasha Denona Eye Sculpt Cool is exactly what you thought it would be. It's pretty much the exact same as this, but more cool tone, more grayscale. If you don't like grays, you won't like this. If you've been needing more true gray colored palettes, you will enjoy this. This is grayer than I thought. That said though, great formula, very easy to use. mean, do I even need to do an introduction? As you guys can tell, as you guys have clicked on this video, you would know. Today I am going to be doing my first review, first impressions of the brand new Natasha Denona Bloom eyeshadow palette, her newest spring eyeshadow palette launch. So where can you get this guy? It is currently available on the Natasha Denona website, Sephora, and Ulta, probably Beautylish. I will have all of the links down below for that. This palette is $69 and has 15 brand new warm-toned floral hues, all in Natasha Denona's already existing formulation. So new colors, but no new formulations. And I've got to tell you, when I got this in the mail, my first impressions of looking at it, I think the packaging is really beautiful. I mean, it's the same style component, just with a different style of artwork. But the colors itself, from the first images I've seen since I did my shopper drop a few days ago, this is a lot warmer than I thought it was going to be. Now, it's very peachy pinky warm. It's not like orange warm or red warm or yellow warm. It's pinky peachy warm, if that makes sense. And it makes sense. I mean, these are absolutely very spring appropriate colors and hues. But you know, I get excited about a cool toned palette. So when I opened it, I was like, eh. But you know what? I talk trash about warm colors, and then I wear them a lot. So I feel like this is gonna be one of those palettes where I'm like looking at it right now and I'm like, it's fine. But then when time goes on, as I'm reaching for makeup without thinking about it, I'm gonna probably reach for this one a lot more. But make sure you're subscribed to my channel and we will see if that actually ends up happening. But let's get into it. I'm sure you guys are curious. I'm gonna take you over to the swatches, the unboxing, and all of that right now. This is the box that the palette is going to come in. It has her artwork that she did. And then the back here has all of the details of the shade names. The palette's made in Italy with a 24-hour shelf life, and it has a description on each of the formulas and the best way to use them. So nothing new here, really. Good to keep for the numbers of the shades if you are a hunter for repeat shades, because that's kind of how she does it here. Here's the actual palette in the traditional style midi palette for Natasha Denona. The artwork is very, very cute here. It has like a little layer of protection, if you can see right here. And then the back, as with normal Natasha Denona midi sized palettes, there's holes here that you can poke through and rearrange as you see fit. And then, of course, here is the colors. Now, one thing I do love to know about the packaging here is that the mirror can stand up on its own, making it really great for just doing your makeup wherever. But okay. But I'll bring you back here to the Bloom palette. And I have to say, based on first impressions opening this palette is very, very warm, very, very peachy, definitely warmer than I was hoping for. But I really shouldn't be surprised because I took the Bloom Blush and Glow palette from years ago. I mean, this eyeshadow palette surely does look like an extension of that Bloom and Glow cheek palette, does it not? So for swatching, the order I'm going to go in is I'm going to keep to this side where the warm shades are first and go like this. And then we'll get to the more pinky shades at the end. So we're going to do Fluorescence, Bark, and Keen, in case you want to see how those sit on the finger. Fluorescence is a metallic medium vivid tangerine, so just a true shimmer shade. Now remember, I don't swatch very hard because that's a better example of how it's going to apply. Bark right here is a creamy matte medium dark gingerbread brown, and then Keen is a matte light medium nude tangerine. So here are the first three shades. We have Crisp, Lush, and Break. Ooh, look at that. Crisp right here feels very, very piecey. I don't really like that. So Crisp is a sparkling foil duochrome coral with gold. Doesn't have too much of a base color. You can see a subtle duochrome. Like one side it's almost clear, and then the other side it has that orangey duochrome. Then we have Lush, a sparkling foiled light nude apricot. That's pretty sheer. I'm going to go in there again. And then Brick is a matte medium bright terracotta. So just that creamy matte formula. Super duper pigmented. Building up Lush just a little bit. But it doesn't build up too much. It doesn't have a lot of grab or creaminess to it in the pan. It stays pretty pressed into the pan, which is not how the original Natasha Denona good old days formula used to be. You used to be able to like get it to swatch down your whole arm. And the final 3 shades of this little 9 portion, Petal, Ember, and then Robin. And that's how they're looking on my fingers. So Petal is a silky matte light salmon shade. Ember is one of my favorite formulas, a sparkling foiled medium brick. And then Robin is a silky matte dusty coral. So that's that left portion of the palette. Very warm, very peachy. The mattes are swatching beautifully. The shimmers are a little lackluster. They're a little bit of a harder press, but we'll see about the application. I'm gonna dive now into the 6 pan portion here of these more pinky shades. Definitely the portion that I'm excited about. So I'm gonna do Ren and Fleur first. Oh, that's a beautiful satin shade. Rue, and then Floss. So you can see. Rue is a metallic medium light burgundy. And then Floss, or Flows, is a matte medium vintage rose. I've been waiting for Equinox here, but we're gonna do Clover, and then Equinox is the shade that she seems to be the most proud of, that she's calling out. What do you think? That looks really beautiful. It's almost like a pop shade, if you will, in this palette. Clover is a matte dark vivid burgundy in the creamy matte formula. And then Equinox is a sparkling foil duochrome peach with turquoise blue shift, which doesn't have as much of a base as I thought it would, but it does look pretty. And the turquoise isn't true blue, which I think makes it much more wearable. But here's the whole palette. Here are all of the swatches. You can see what I mean when I say the shimmers are a little thinner. I mean, they've been that way the last few palettes, and I've still loved the palettes. But it's something as an OG Natasha Denona fan that I feel the need to verbalize every time that there has been a shift in formulation of the shimmers. But they do look really pretty. Some of them look really piecey and sparkly. This is so you can see how the palette compares to the swatches on the arms. And I would say it doesn't change much between the pan and the actual colored turnout here. So that's very nice. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I mean the shimmers used to be so much more creamy and thick. And this palette is expired, multiple years old, and it still got it, you know? So I'm going to use this shade. Like you can already tell, I feel. Like she just don't do it like that anymore. No way these shades are traveling as far and as creamy. Again, I mean, just by touch, completely different. This is almost cream. I mean, this is sickening. This is why I fell in love with the brand, you know? You know? So I don't know what happened, how we got here all these years later. Maybe it has to do with laws. I'm sure she's changed manufacturers and labs and whatever, however you create makeup. But Natasha, your team has been commenting on my stuff, so if you're watching this, bring it back. Bring back this formula. Had to sneak that in there, guys. So I think the swatches were pretty nice. You know, I still am like, ugh. It's not as creamy as it once was, but I thought the swatches were very pretty, and I'm excited to get this on the eyes. Taking a closer look at the color story here, I feel like most of the shades have a purpose of being in this palette. They don't look too close to one another. Maybe all 3 of these weren't necessary in this 9 pan portion, but they might pull a little differently on the eyelid. So I'm going to do 2 looks today, and then I will also have a 3rd look in short form. So make sure you're following me either on Instagram or TikTok to see those. But to come a little closer with my new camera, I feel like you guys can see details really nicely, so I'm so excited for this application, though my skin is struggling. Don't pay attention to that. When I first did my shopper drop, she did not have the looks up yet on the website, and I know for one of the looks, I'm inspired by this one. I don't know exactly what colors she used. I want to use the colors that I want to use, but inspired by that. So how I'm gonna start is with the shade Lush. And I think this uses just the 9 pan portion over here. So Lush, I have Milani eye primer on. I'm going to press on my eyelid, just the inner part of the eyelid. So I have nothing except Milani eyeshadow primer on. I didn't really blend the concealer too far in over my eyelid. And this is applying very nicely with a brush. It's definitely on the more PC side, right? So if you want more of an opaque level of color, go in with a finger. And I don't have any concealer on my under eye, so fallout's not going to be an issue for me. But that's pretty, very subtle, and I did end up with Lush. Going in with a finger. This is going to be a pretty one and done style shadow. I'm actually going to take a little bit of Keen because I want to see this as my initial base color for the crease. It's pretty, very light. If you have a deeper complexion, let me know what you think how these matte shades are going to be. Is there enough deep shades in there for you? This pool's really warm, actually, just with that second level of buildup. So next up, I'm going to take Fluorescence. I don't think she actually used this shade on this look, but I'm just gonna, no, I think she did, because it pulls more orange on the eyelid. It looks a little bit more peachy, pinky, rosy, but on my eyelid, it's pulling a little bit more orangey. But I'm just keeping that on the lower half of the center of my eyelid. You could also go ahead and use a brush with this one. This one would go good with a brush. Oh yeah, actually I'm even getting more pigment with a brush. And then I'm gonna take Ember, which I'm nervous about using this with a brush. But let's see. Okay, just because it's quicker for me, I'm gonna use my finger. But you can work around with a brush if you need to. And I'm carrying it into the crease, like so. So working really nicely, very easy to use. Taking a small blending brush, working that out. Interesting, we only have that one matte color in the crease, but I think for this being mostly all shimmers, this is looking so pretty. I'm actually liking this look. See, I told you, I don't like the look of warm palettes. They don't do something to me, but then I get them on and I think they're really pretty. I'm gonna bump up Lush right here. And I'm gonna bump up Fluorescence, which I think that this shade is so pretty, even though it's orange and I hate orange apparently. And then we'll bump up some of Ember too. I'm working slowly to build up the color, just so we don't make a mess of everything. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of Brick, which I don't think they used for this look, but I want to bring some red in. So I'm keeping that on the outer half of my lash line. I'm forgetting terms for the anatomy of the eye. That's pretty. That added really nice bit of pigmented warmth. I'm not concerned about the mattes in this palette at all. It was some of the shimmers that I raised my eyebrows at a little bit. But I know the mattes are going to be great. So I'm going into Bark. Fantastic that she has this in this palette because can be used for eyeliner. I guess she did more of like an angle. I'm not copying this look to a T. Just liked her color placement. But she did take that out a bit. Then I'm taking a wee bit more of Ember, the dark shade, and taking that just a little higher and softening that. You can't lie to me, that look is pretty. I'm going to take more of Bark on an angled brush, and we're going to see how this works as eyeliner. I'm just pressing this on the lash line. Now, typically, if you see a dark liner on a Natasha Denona look, she does pull in actual eyeliners from her line that she'll incorporate into the looks that she does. Now, one of the shades that I was concerned with was Crisp. It's just really piecey and flaky and messy. Like, I feel like chunkiness is coming out of this. I don't like how this shade feels. I'm gonna take that, and it does a nice job of just brightening this area, but she's very messy, so I would be careful if you have concealer on. And I think I'm gonna build up a little bit more depth in the outer corner with a little bit more brick, subtly, so it doesn't blend too much into the liner. And then I'm taking some of Petal to see, yeah, that could not brighten my underbrow completely, but if you have a deeper complexion, that could be pretty to clean up the underbrow. But for me, that light shade is gonna be best for blending out darker colors. And then lower lash, just because I haven't used Robin. This one might be a little close to Keen. You know how I feel about shades being too similar to one another in the same palettes, but it's not bad. It does have a little bit more pop there. And then I'm just gonna follow with the pattern of Lush on the inner corner, Fluorescence, more of that satin metallic formula, which pulls more orangey. So pretty. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of brick on the tip of my brush. This is an angled brush, and I'm keeping it tight to the lash. That really adds that true orangey kind of reddish warmth. And then brick to cool it down just a little bit, neutralize it just a little bit. And then maybe some ember. I'm just throwing things on, no, not too much rhyme or reason. Okay, and then this is calling for a brown liner in the waterline, no? Totally is. And then maybe a little inner corner wing. I'm gonna do that off camera because it doesn't have to do with the palette, but I'll be back. Okay, and then here's the final look using the warm side of the palette. Really pretty. Everything was very easy to use. The only shade that I don't love is Crisp. Even though it's really pretty, it's very chunky, very messy, a little dry. I mean, if you work it out with a glitter glue, you can make it look pretty. You don't have to worry about that, but not the best quality there. Okay, I already know what I'm gonna do. Now, the side of the palette that I'm the most excited about, you can probably guess, is gonna be the more pinky side, not the more corally side. So we're gonna do a halo eye. And of course, Equinox is gonna be the star of the show. So I'm gonna start off with Ren. And I'm gonna do windshield wiper motions above my crease, just a little higher because I'm creating more eyelid space since I don't have a ton of eyelid space to work with. So I'm blending this up high. Really pretty. That could probably work as a blush as well. Okay. Next up, we're taking flows, and I'm putting that on the outer and inner corner. That carries a lot more depth than it looks in pan, which is great news if you have a deeper complexion. Just gonna softly blend this, taking just a little bit more. This is pretty. I feel like it's a little bit more mauve-y. I don't know why I complain about warm palettes so much, and I'm not the only one. I know a lot of you guys too. Warm is pretty though, but there's so many warm palettes. Okay, and then I'm taking Clover, which the shade looks really pretty and deep, on an even tighter blending brush. And I'm just gonna pat it and keep it a little bit lower, and then blend that so we can see the depth that I can get from that. That's pretty. All of these three matte shades were definitely created to create a look, which I didn't mention. She does say, you know, you're supposed to create a look with every quad, with every row, with every column, which I think is kind of true. Kind of. So if you are looking for some inspo and you don't know what looks to create, there's looks created within the palette for you. Okay. And then I do want to play with Rue, but first we need to see this Equinox shade that Natasha Denona was saying you gotta try this shadow, you gotta try it. It has a little bit of a harder press, and it's very thin. It's not chunky or thick or creamy when you pick it up. You just get a nice thin layer, working it up pretty much to the brow with whatever's left over. And so this is that shade that has that turquoise shift to it. It's pretty. I mean, it's nothing crazy compared to what you can get on the indie market, of course, but I think it's a very pretty shade for what you can get at Sephora for sure. And that adds a nice pop to the palette. It also has really nice contrast with the other colors in this palette to give it a little bit more oomph. And then just to bridge those colors together, I'm gonna take a little bit of Rue and I'm gonna place it on top of Clover using a nice small detail brush. And that's holding its own with pigment. Like, I'm gonna have to go back in with Clover. That's pretty. I'm gonna take a little bit more of that deep matte Clover just on top because I like the matte. And then let's see Fleur, which this is such a pretty soft shade as an inner corner highlight. It's probably a little deep for my complexion as an inner corner highlight, but I want to make it work just for today. But I bet you this shade, let me pop it on my hand. I bet you this shade is going to be gorgeous all over the eyelid as a one and done look, right? So silky, doesn't have any glitters in there, so it's definitely more of a true metallic. I'm going in with more of Equinox, and I'm just kind of splattering that all over. And then, by the way, did not get any fallout from that eye. And then I'm gonna kind of do the same thing at the bottom. So Ren, you see how I'm keeping the center portion clean? That's what we want. Floss, flows. And then a little bit of Clover. I'm just layering those. Not thinking too hard about it. Then take a small brush with Equinox. Yeah, all of these, even though I might say are swatched a little meh. Not meh, but not wow. I feel like everything's applied really nicely. As expected. Not surprised by that. Gorge. Let me put on some lashes to like really the look. I'll talk about this later in the comparisons, but the Bloom cheek palette though, I mean, I see how the eyeshadow colors came out of the Bloom cheek palette. I'm gonna use that for my cheeks today. I haven't used this in forever, so I'm starting off with just a little bit of the blush. This blush definitely goes better with this look. These two sides are very different from one another, much more different than I thought they were gonna be. It's like almost two separate palettes. But obviously, there's looks that you can do where they'll look pretty. I'm thinking for this side, this one, the Duo Glow, is gonna be better. So I'll just kind of keep that towards the apple of my cheek. Just for a little glow. I thought that since we were doing the whole Bloom palette, might as well do the cheek palette. That highlight's pretty. And then for lips, especially with this eye, I think Beso for my collection is gonna look pretty. Kind of is a bridge between the two colors, no? That's the perfect lip to bridge the two together. I do think the looks that I got are very pretty, and it's not a surprise to me because I always do this, but I really love the warm eye like a lot. I think it's stunning. So I mean, we could tell right away from looking at this palette, it is nothing groundbreaking, nothing new and innovative, but what is anymore? And a lot of you thought that this resembled a lot of different Natasha Denona palettes, so I'm gonna take you over to a few comparisons right now. Okay, here are some comparisons. This is Bloom, this is I Need a Warm. And you know what's crazy? Bloom is making I Need a Warm look neutral. There really is not that many crossovers, if I'm being honest. There's some similarities that could pull similar on the eyelid, but not many. This is so much more pinky peachy, whereas this one is, I mean, it's neutral warm, right? But this looks so neutral. It's completely changed how it looks. That's how warm and peachy this is. One on top of the other so you can see. I didn't end up swatching these because there's like a handful of shades that will be similar, but overall the vibes, I think the looks are going to be very different between these two. Now retro, completely different. I thought they would be similar. Now it's only this portion of the palette that is similar to the retro palette, like maybe this shade and this shade, or this shade and this shade might pull similar. This shade and this shade might pull similar. So there's a total of maybe 2 or 3 shades that kind of look the same, but other than that, these two are very different. Bronze palette is notoriously Natasha Denona's warmest palette. Complete different tones of warm other than High Degree and Amber. I'd say the rest maybe 2 shades similar. The rest are very different. This is more yellowy golden warm. This is more pinky peachy warm. So these are also quite different. It was also requested to see against Biba, and there's a few shades that I would say are pretty similar. Obviously a different style of packaging. Biba is much, much, much more neutral. But at the top here, I do have my Bloom swatches, and then at the bottom, I do have some swatches of Biba. I would say on that more pinky portion of the Bloom palette, there's a couple more similarities, but not much with the peachy side of the palette. Honestly, I feel like this Bloom palette is more unique to the line than I anticipated. I think individually you can find each shade or something close to in Natasha Denona's line, but as a palette, as a whole, it does read differently than the ones that I compared it to today. You guys, surprisingly, I mean, it's not unique, I'm not going to say that, but if you have other Natasha Denona palettes, it's not going to be like you already have half the colors. Of course, if you have a lot of Natasha Denona palettes, you can pull similar colors to each of these. So nothing breaking the mold here, but it's definitely more different from other palettes than I thought, which I'm very happy about. So my overall impressions about this palette, I like it. I mean, right, I like it. The thing is, I don't really have any bad notes about this palette at all. I love the looks that I created, and surprisingly, like, these two sides are so different from one another. I like that versatility. I feel like for a midi palette, this does have a decent amount of versatility. Sometimes in the past, when Natasha Denona does a really themed palette, you can only get so many looks out of it. I feel like this one is going to offer you some variety, which is fantastic. You're putting money into it. You want to be able to create a lot of different looks. I like the different mix of formulas, the ratios of shimmers to mattes, the varying depths here. I think this is a very well put together palette. It's just a matter of if you're going to enjoy the colors. And for me, time's gonna have to tell, because it doesn't sing to my soul for what I love in an eyeshadow palette, but I actually might end up reaching for it depending on kind of what wardrobe I'm gonna be wearing with spring upcoming. I actually think I might reach for this one a lot. But quality wise, if you've been enjoying the quality of the most recent Natasha Denona palettes, I think you're going to enjoy this one. It's no different. The only shade that I thought could have been better was Crisp, just because it's very flaky. But other than that, I'm really happy. The mattes blended beautifully. The shimmers are super pretty. An overall very easy to use palette, which is why we love Natasha Denona. She's definitely presenting at Sephora the best quality shadows that you can get right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know your thoughts below on the palette. Do you feel how I feel? Did it run warmer than you expected? Are you excited for it? If you've gotten yours in the mail already, let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more, because I'm definitely going to be talking about this palette a lot more on my channel, and definitely will be wearing it for sure, because I think you can get some really pretty one and done and two and done looks together. Like, these two are calling my name. So I'm excited to see what light, bright, springy looks I can get from this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys, have a good one. Alright guys, we got it. The newest addition to the Natasha Denona line, the mini gloom palette. I did do a short little shopper drop on this just to give my first impressions upon seeing it, but now it is in my hand. I also am going to have to utilize the Macrotech eye crayon in taupe, which I wasn't going to purchase, but I saw a lot of you comment that you love this eyeliner, so I thought I'd give it a go. This is a $27 5-pan eyeshadow palette that's made in Italy. It's cruelty-free and is based around like gloomy, droomy, very fall tones if you ask me, but it's supposed to be cool toned. A lot of you were questioning a pink shade being thrown in here. It doesn't look too pink to me, but I haven't opened it up yet. But moody, mossy tones is the vibe of this today. Let's just go ahead and take a look and get to swatching on this. Same classic packaging as all of the other Natasha Denona mini palettes, and then here's the back with the shade names and any other details you might want to pause and take a look at. And here are what the colors are going to look like at the end of the video. After I've done my swatches and my eyeshadow looks, I will compare these to other palettes that you guys were curious about. But let's go ahead and swatch these. So the first color that we have is Cinder, which is a matte, dark, dusty olive taupe. Very pigmented. Then we have a metallic light taupe champagne shade. It is definitely like almost grayish. In the middle here we have Moss, a matte medium muted olive. They feel pretty good just upon that initial swatch. Okay, I'm curious about Moss here. It's a little grayy, a little green, has some beige in there, some gray in there. These Huda Beauty contour lip stains, I cannot get them off my hand. I swatched them yesterday for a different video. This one I thought was so interesting. It's a sparkling metallic dusty petroleum green. It looks like a dark pewter almost. And then this one a lot of people thought was pinky since it is described as a light medium dusty rose in the metallic formula. In some lights it looks pink to me, and in other lights it looks like kind of like a beigey champagne. So it does look like a pewter gray to me, but you can see the sparkles. And this, it's not like super pink. All of these are definitely pretty cool toned. Yeah, I mean, it's a grungy kind of palette for my grungy girls. I think it swatched pretty decent. This was also in the launch. I believe it has been available before, but it's the perfect color to go with this palette. The eye crayon in taupe that, again, I'm going to swatch it on my other hand. That a lot of you guys, I know, did a kindergartner draw this? A lot of you guys said you really love this. This is an interesting shade. I'm curious how I'm going to end up utilizing this. If I'm being honest, with the looks that she had on the website, to me, and you know, Natasha Denona is amazing. She's an amazing makeup artist, but I didn't love the looks as much with this palette that were on the website. I thought some of them just looked a little too messy for my vibe. Putting a little bit, maybe not any eye primer, got stuck. Just a little bit of eye primer on. I do have some concealer on, and I just realized time has been getting past me, you guys. I leave for Spain so soon for my wedding, and I realized I have to figure out what the heck makeup I'm gonna wear. I've been like sitting on my hands and not dealing with that, so I'm thinking this is the base. I'm gonna change out the blush color, but I think I have the base products figured out, but still not my eyes and lips, so I'm gonna have to play around with that. But that's not relevant to this. But the base, for the most part, these products I think is what I'm gonna wear, because I think my skin looks really nice with these. Okay, first things first, I actually want to play with these three for a look, and then I think we can incorporate this. But I need to see this as the base color. The Moss, because I'm just so curious how this looks all over the eyelid. While I am trying to create cute looks, you guys know, I'm really also just trying to test the quality of this palette, make sure no shades look too close to one another. So I'm doing looks, but I'm basing them on how can I best review these shades and try as many as possible. Luckily, there's only 5 shades. This is quite pigmented, and this is, I would say, a pretty unique color. Very unique green, gorgeous for the fall. Yeah, this palette's definitely not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's for a certain vibe. I think that's kind of gorgeous. Wow, I really love that shade. I'm going to go ahead and pop that along the lower lash line as well. Taking a tighter brush, I'm going to take the darkest shade in the palette, Cinder. Let's see how well this pairs with Moss. Really beautiful pairing. With these 5 fan palettes, they are created intentionally that all of the colors are going to look good together, because you're not supposed to get a plethora of looks with these palettes. The more you can get, the better the palette, of course, but these are all supposed to work really well together, and I mean, that is gorgeous, blended beautifully. I'm just loving how these two are working together. Good formula too. I mean, it's still not the OG, but they're working out beautifully. Okay, and then we're gonna brighten up with this second shade here. My brush is not wet, so this is just how it's going to apply. Gonna carry it up here. That's beautiful. I'm gonna test this shade in the center of the lid, but if I were to put this all over, that is such a beautiful look. I'm actually gonna take a smaller brush and use that same shade down here. And because I'm curious, I need to see how this looks in the center. Okay, I think against these shades, it's looking more green and less blue. Oh my gosh, this look is gorgeous. I mean, when they create these palettes, it's pretty much supposed to give you a specific kind of look, but these are just well married colors. Absolutely stunning. I'm gonna put the taupe liner on. Give that a little smudge. And then, last thing, I just want to see how this would look in the inner corner. It might be too deep. No, that actually is nice and bright, and it is very different from the lid shade. I love this. I want to put this on the other eye, but I want to test a little bit more versatility. So I'm just going to do a very simple look for this next one, because I want to see if this can pull a little bit more neutral. So I'm just going to do maybe like 2-3 colors max. So I'm taking Cinder, and I'm just going to press it in the outer corner, and then very carefully blend that out. I figured with this look we used all 5. So let's see if we can get a simple 2 and done look. That's a little bit more, I'm gonna say natural, but you know, this palette isn't for my natural people. Like, this can create some mean, grungy, smoky eyes. Okay, and then I'm gonna take my flat shader brush, and we're gonna go into Glint and just pop this all over. I just want to see how this rose, as they describe its shade, is. If it's like super rosy, which it's really not. I think it's got a lot of gray in there. I'm really not seeing a lot of rose, which I think for most of you guys is a good thing, because most of you guys were like, we don't need another pink. It's really not that pink, at least against my skin tone. It's just a true metallic shade, and this is kind of neat that you can get a look like this. Not so green, so you're not married to the green when you use this palette. I mean, this is quite pretty. I'm gonna just run this along the lower lash. I'm gonna put taupe in my waterline, and we'll kind of smudge it. This is such a unique eyeliner shade, but I see why you guys like it. Wow, between the mixture of the two, you can really get a lot of depth. Very, very neat. This eyeliner has a very good glide. I know my blush is so warm, it's not going with this look, sorry. I was testing for my wedding, so it's just gonna have to be that way, but both of these looks are so pretty. I'm really liking this. Okay, let me do my lashes, I'll be back. I just went in with the grunge. We had to do like a velour big fat lash, very 2016. And then lips, I have Lawless Forget the Filler lip liner in Kiss, and then Natasha Denona Noah, which is the perfect fall lip to pair with this eyeshadow, that Noah lipstick, because it's so cool tone, beautiful. Okay, so I'm really liking this palette a lot. I love the looks I came up with. It's not a ton of versatility, but you can get a few different looks with this, like at least 3 or 4 quite different looking looks, and the colors go so beautifully together. They were made for each other, you can absolutely tell. So more of the story, if this is a color story that you think you would wear and that you like it, it is absolutely worth it. If it's not a color story that's in your wheelhouse that you wouldn't feel comfortable using often, you could pass. So it's just a matter of, it's only good if you're gonna like these colors, but I really like this, and I think it's a bit different from what Natasha has been launching lately. So I'm very curious if they were to ever create like a midi palette based off of the Gloom, what we could get with it. I think it would be an amazing like Halloween kind of palette. But of course you guys wanted to know how this compared to other palettes. The most asked about palette was the Mini Star. And so here's how they look side by side. They definitely are in the same family for sure. I of course swatched them side by side. So here is the Gloom, and then here's the Mini Star. Now you can see Mini Star was a different era of formulas. These are just thicker and creamier, whereas the Gloom palette is that new drier formula. So you can see that difference in the swatches. They have like, other than this pairing here, they have a sibling, but slight tone differences. A little bit warmer as well, the Mini Star is overall. Also got a lot of comments wanting to see it compared to Mini Retro. Can definitely see some similarities. And here they are. So the top two don't have a match, but here they are pretty, not close. Again, they're different tones for sure, but they have some colors that play very similar roles. Definitely different formulas too in Mini Retro. And lastly, I wanted to compare it to the Mini Gold, because the Mini Gold had mostly this green right here that I wanted to see how it compared. Yeah, these are complete different palettes. You can see the gold here. Yeah, complete different formulas too. That Mini Gold is just the formula that I miss. But yeah, not the same at all. Nice and grungy today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts about the Mini Gloom palette. Are you planning on picking it up? And how about this taupe liner? It is a very, very unique color, and I'm into it for this whole vibe. I mean, the best part about my job is that I get to experiment with looks like this. I don't know that I'm going out in grungy makeup if this were not my job, but it is so, so fun to have something to experiment with. There's just not a lot of products coming out like that anymore. So let me know your thoughts on this down below. Are you picking it up? As always, I will have the links to pick it up down below. It is available in the US on the Natasha Denona website, and it's an Ulta Beauty exclusive, but I do know in Europe it will be available at Sephora. So I'll have everything that I'm wearing linked down below as well for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys, have a good one. Oh my god, I did not know this video was going to be on the schedule for this week. And then Sunday, Natasha Denona just dropped not one, but 2 new palettes. Normally I have an idea of the videos I want for the next week, but she took me by surprise with this one, and here we are on this fine Wednesday with both of the new Natasha Denona Eye Sculpt Texture and Tone eyeshadow palettes. In today's videos, I have swatches of these in natural light. We're going to do a couple tutorials. We're going to do some comparisons. I'm going to go over the formulas, all of that good stuff, so I can help you decide if you do or do not need this, if it's something that will enhance your makeup collection or not, or maybe which palette would be the best for you, because these palettes have two different shades. Soft, which is more intentional for lighter complexions, and then the dramatic, which is more intentional for deeper complexions. In fact, Natasha Denona herself said she picked out the tones for the dramatic palette for deeper complexions, which not a lot of brands have the balls to do, so I'm really excited about that. I mean, I think if you have a deeper complexion, there definitely is a huge incentive here to pick up the more dramatic palette, since it is created with your skin tone in mind, which not enough brands do. So I'm so excited about that. One thing about Natasha, I swear she listens to her customers. So about this palette, or these palettes, I should say, they are $82 each, so they are quite expensive, which is why I'm here today for a video to help you narrow down which you need, or the fact that you don't need them, you know? They are available at Ulta. Both shades are available at Ulta, at Sephora, at the Natasha Denona website, and I also saw them at Beautylish as well. You want my advice on where to order from? If you want it to come in one piece, Natasha Denona does the best quality of shipping. If you want to potentially return, then definitely do either Sephora or Ulta. You can hold off for the Sephora savings event, or Ulta has a better point system. So kind of depending on that and your needs, those are where I would go for what reasons. I didn't realize this. We actually have a brand new matte formula in these palettes, which I'll talk about when we get to the swatches. And I would say the two are pretty different from each other. Now, I'm very grateful. I received these in PR. However, I've been ordering Natasha Denona for so many years. I still ordered it. If I want it and I want to review it, I'm going to buy it. I don't care. But of course, I'm super grateful to have gotten these in PR so I could get this review up just a little bit earlier for you guys. But as you know, that doesn't affect anything. I buy it anyways. I'm going to tell you if I don't like it or not. Or if I love it. So this is an 18-pan essential palette of textures and neutral shades in Natasha Denona's iconic, user-friendly, velvety soft formulas designed to sculpt and enhance the eyes. Now, where these two palettes stem from are from this surprising little mini eye sculpt palette that ended up selling so well. And honestly, when this first launched, we all, including myself, talked about how much we didn't need this. And then I did buy it, and then I used it all the time. It's my go-to travel palette. I kind of keep it at the side because it just has all of those basic neutral sculpting tones for really the base of any look, or for a whole look in of itself. And so thus came the whole eye sculpt texture and tone palettes. Each of these have 18 pans, so there's a lot of shades in them, and the two shades are quite different from one another. They offer different things, different formulas, different finishes, and I'll go over that in the swatches with you. According to Natasha Denona, both of these palettes are permanent, so if you're kind of on the fence, truly there is no rush. So I did take a look at the mini Sculpt palette versus these two new ones. There are no repetitive shades between these three palettes, and I think we've gotten into all the details, so I'm gonna go ahead, take you straight to the swatches so you can see what these two look like up close and personal. So let's start off with the packaging. The packaging is really sleek and simple, very pro forward, I would say. And then the back, a lot of you guys asked, you can poke them out, rearrange them, and then you'll just be able to tell which one it is. That it'll be right here, soft. So these palettes are both made in Italy, and they have a 24-month shelf life. And this one is the soft palette. So how these palettes work is the columns are all color families. So R stands for rosy pink, peach warm, yellow golden, neutral cool, peach warm, W for warm, or neutral cool. So that's how that works. And then also it's done in lightest to deepest. For size comparison, I have a regular midi palette, and as you can see, this new eye sculpt palette is actually a little bit more compact. It's about the same level of thickness, but a little bit shorter because there's a lot less space in between the colors. And these are the midi size pans. So you can mix and match these pans with any midi size palette. Here's a closer look at the soft palette. This one is majority matte. Now what I didn't realize is there's actually a new matte formulation introduced in this palette called the Silky Matte formula. From what I've touched, it doesn't feel too different from the regular creamy matte formula, but this palette does not have any of the creamy matte formula. So I have this insert that I was given right here. So SKM stands for the new Silky Matte formula. SC is going to stand for the Slip Cream Matte formula. And I don't see any creamy mattes in here. Now, the Slip Cream is not my favorite. We'll talk about that in more of the review portion. And then this palette also has 3 metallic finishes, which I did not realize, which would be this one, and N2, which does not look very metallic, but this is a metallic. A lot of the Slip Cream Matte formulas you're going to find over here, and then one right here. And then the rest of these, I believe, are all that new Silky Matte formula, which did swatch very silky. I'm not mad at it at all. And then here are the swatches. So I have, you know, the rose row to the peach row to the yellow row to the neutral to the warm to the cool here at the end. So you can see this one is supposed to be a metallic, but it really is more of a satin, I would say. This one's the metallic, and then this one, the mattes that have like a little bit of a sheen to them, those are going to be those Slip Cream mattes. And then mostly up front, we have the Silky mattes, which were really smooth, not too powdery, decent pigmentation. So those are all of the colors in the soft palette. Now here's a look at the dramatic palette, just like the soft palette, but a little bit changed up. We have peach warm, yellow golden, rosy pink, peach warm, but these I think are a little bit more peachy warm, neutral cool, and then this one's also neutral cool. So that's how she did that one. Now this one is different than the soft because this middle row is actually of all metallics and sparkling foiled shades, so we have a lot more of that. I prefer that. I like that there's more shimmers in this dramatic one. I wish the soft one had some more shimmers, but that's just, you know, what can we do about that? Now, in terms of formulations, this one has a good mix. So like I said, mixture of sparkling foils and metallics. And then I noticed most of the mattes here are the Silky Matte formula, the new formula. Towards this side, we have more of the creamy matte formula. And then also just randomly placed, we have some of the Slip Cream matte formula. And those are the ones that have, you know, the little shine right here. Which actually, now that I'm looking, there's only one Slip Cream matte, but there's a lot more in the soft. So if you don't like the Slip Cream matte, only one in the dramatic, but a lot more in the soft, which is an interesting mix that they decided to do that and put more creamy mattes in this one. Anyways, here are the swatches. So I've noticed the deep creamy mattes, they get a little bit patchy, but I've never noticed an issue with that with application. But the Silky mattes, this new formula, I will say they do swatch a little bit smoother, but you can see the clear difference from this to the soft palette. This is much, much more dramatic. We have a lot more sparkly shades in here. To me, this is a more well-rounded, useful palette for sure. I mean, I love both, but this one gets me going. Yeah, I mean, the soft versus the dramatic, they have pretty different formulations. I think she was intentional with that, so you wouldn't buy one or the other. You would be more likely to buy both, especially with the soft palette having more of the Slip Cream matte formulas, and then the dramatic palette having more of the traditional powder matte formulas and more metallic shades. I'm more partial to the dramatic, you guys, but I still think that this one is going to be really fun to use. So let's just go ahead and get it on the eyes now that we've seen the swatches, and let's check out the performance. Now, Natasha Denona, I always say she just has state-of-the-art, particularly mattes of late. I was deciding how I wanted to go about the looks because it's possible to get very similar looks using both palettes because they both have a lot of those neutral browns and stuff. So, I mean, I could totally create a similar eye look using both of the different palettes, but I wanted to create a look with the soft palette that you can't get with the dramatic palette and vice versa. So we're gonna do one very different look with the soft palette and one with the dramatic. So we'll do the soft palette on this eye. Now this chart that they do have online is fantastic if you need some inspiration on where to apply the colors on the eyes, if you need a little bit of a cheat sheet to help you out. I'm not going to pay attention to that, but I think it's a great feature that they do have. I think we're going to stay more on this side of the palette since this is definitely not what you can get in the dramatic palette. I'm not going to pay too close of attention to the tones either, but I think that's a great way to utilize this palette as well, is to work by the columns here. If you want, you know, a simple rosy look, you can just play with this row. If you want a simple like cool neutral look, you can play with this row. This palette is very well laid out, very thoughtful, very pro forward. I would say it makes a lot of sense to me. So to get us started, I actually want to sculpt the eye a little bit. So I'm going to use the shade P2. I'm not going to do anything crazy for these looks. They are neutral palettes after all, and they're meant to sculpt and shade the eye more than anything. So I'm just taking this and even bringing it into the bridge of the nose a little bit because we can do a little bit of contour with this. Right now, the majority of my base is Natasha Denona, including the new High Glam foundation, which I've been loving. My review still stands from that initial point. I am obsessed with it. Also the concealer and the new bronzers. All Natasha Denona today. And then I think I'm going to take R1. And I normally like to just brighten up underneath my brow bone. I also put concealer underneath. So I do want to set that concealer. And I like how these don't have names. I just like the R1, Y1. Really simple. As somebody who doesn't really care too much about names, I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush and I'm going to go into Y2 and I'm going to build up some depth. Now, with it being 18 shades of basically matte, kind of running in the neutral family, I'm sure a number of these shades are going to run similar on the eyelid, which is not my favorite thing about an eyeshadow palette, but for a gradient style palette like this, I'm less offended. But yes, that is a normal rule of thumb that I do stand by, but I'll be a little less offended just because of the nature and the premise of the palette. I'm gonna go ahead and just mix those two crease shades that I just used, P2 and Y2. And I'm just gonna put this along the lower lash line. Kind of messily. And I do like how, for the most part, these are all similar depths, but complete different tones, which can easily change the direction of the look. I mean, these are mostly the Silky Matte, the new Silky Matte formula that I've been using, and they're applying very silky, not overly pigmented, which I think is the intention behind this formula. Now, I'll be the first to admit, the Slip Cream Matte formula, not a favorite of mine, but I'll give her credit where credit is due. You don't get any fallout with this, and it has improved over time. I think she's trying to make it her signature formula. To me, it just doesn't beat a regular powder matte, but it has improved over the years, and I'm keeping this kind of high, but you can see I'm creating a shadow. We're gonna do like faux cut crease situation, so I want this depth, and this shade is really good for not making the eye messy. And then I'm gonna go even deeper. This is another one of those shades, formulas, C3, and I'm keeping it a little tighter, but really building in that depth. So you see how this palette, we're able to create a whole new sculpted look with the eye. I think that's so special about this. I'm wiping off my brush. I'm going into Y3. And I'm just gonna lightly run that along the lower lash. We're not gonna do anything crazy with today's look, just so you know. That's not how I would use these palettes, nor would be the reason I would grab for these palettes. Kind of softly blend this. And now I'm going to take the shade Y1, And I'm going to put this all over the eyelid. I'm using a flat shader brush. And while I am not creating a cut crease old school style with concealer and all of that intensity, I am using the shape of this brush to create a more defined edge here. This has been one of my favorite styles of neutral looks. I do wish that this was a bit more pigmented so we had a bit more pow right away. Confirming this Y1 shade is that new Silky Matte formula, which I think by nature is less pigmented, which is why it's applying more sheer. Which again, not a bad thing per se, but in this case, I would have liked for it to be a creamy matte formula so I could build it up a lot quicker. But very easy blend, this new formula. And this is the palette that has most of the new formula. They're less prevalent in the Dramatic palette. And then we're just gonna stick with it. We're gonna build on top of it. She didn't add C1 for no reason. And I'm gonna put it right on top. And oh, it's a little messy. I'm getting some fallout. And that silky shade is so silky. It doesn't give a base for this metallic shade to adhere to, but not good. Okay, it might look chalky. I'm actually a little worried. Just because the matte formula is dry and slippery, so what does this formula have to stick to? That's not good, you guys. The OG Natasha Denona Shimmery formula would have not had any issue, and I'm talking years ago. The whole formula has changed from the brand, and that just wiped away. I'll do a wet brush, but I think going back, I probably should not have put that silky matte down first. But you know, one thing about me, I do not like having to wet a shadow. And with Natasha, I normally don't, but this needs to be wet in order to be utilized. So I'll do it for today, but that is an application note. Don't put the silky matte underneath the shimmer shade because it ain't gonna stick. And it will look a little dry and rough. Not obsessed. I still like the palette overall, but I don't like how this played out. And I'm gonna have some fallout too, and it is what it is. But we got there, and it is pretty. I know some of you guys don't mind having to make adjustments in wetting your brush because you do it anyways. But normally for Natasha, I don't have to. So that was a bad move on my part, but I didn't know it was gonna be that way. I'm just kind of rebuilding some of the shadow we created here. Still very beautiful. I'm gonna take a smaller brush. I'm gonna go back into Y1, and I'm just gonna brighten the inner lower lash line, all the way in the inner corner here, tear duct area. And overall, the goal is to keep this look more light and bright with that faux shadow in the crease. I think we got that. I do have some fallout on the face. Not a big deal, but didn't intend for that to happen. And it's kind of stuck. So it is what it is. But this C1, it's a little dry. I will warn ya, because you can see even with the blending, it kind of fell off again. But you can see with the swatch, with a light press, without the warmth of my finger pushing it in, it's a little piecey. But the matte's phenomenal. Even the Slip Cream matte formula, which I'm typically not a big fan of, I did like how I used it today. I'm going to take an angled brush, and I'm going into the shade W3, which again is a Slip Cream matte formula, but this formula I do love for eyeliner. So I'm just gonna keep this tight along the lash line and just stamp that on like so. Gorgeous. I love this formula for eyeliner. It's just there's a lot of this formula in this palette, and I think she did that because she's assuming someone with a lighter complexion would be using this. So you don't need a super powdery matte to build up the pigment. So this is actually an easier formula to use and blend on lighter skin tone. So I see the intention for sure, but that's why we have the dramatic palette, I suppose. We'll do like a tiny mini wing. Kind of sad about the fallout, but it'll be okay. All right, let's move on to the dramatic palette and do something a little bit more dramatic. I definitely want to utilize the shimmers as well. So I'm gonna use R1 right here. We're gonna start that off right along the lower lash line. Now this has some warmth to it, but we're gonna end up going pretty smoky in the waterline today. Also gonna take a big fluffy brush and start that in my crease as well, using a lighter hand, because for me, obviously this creates some instant depth. I mean, I really am more partial to the dramatic palette, even on myself, but when creating looks, I'd utilize shades from both palettes just to get the most even blend and best gradient for my skin tone. So these are a launch that I can totally see myself going back and forth between both of them for just one look. But instantly we're starting off with something more on the dramatic side. I'm gonna take some of N1 and I'm gonna do an outer corner blend using that smaller blending brush. Can be a little messy with it because I am going to take a shimmer shade to the lid that will cover anything that's unblended, but I'm keeping this more on the outer half versus here where I brought that deeper shade all the way in. I'm keeping this one more out. Taking a pencil brush with N1, lining this even closer to the lash line. Honestly, at this point, I'm gonna take Natasha Denona taupe, pop that in my waterline, and I'm taking my angled brush and blending that out. I want it to be really, really smoky today, so really blend that out. Going even the teeniest bit deeper with C1. Now, I'm not saying you can't get this look with the soft palette, because you could, because there are deeper tones offered in the soft palette, but this one has more undertone options. Like this one is really cool, the dark shade that I'm using, and I have just the tiniest bit on the tip, and then I'm just, again, bringing it down and blending, and these mattes are working out so beautifully. I've used no slip cream mattes at this point for this look because you can build up pigment easier. We could even do a cool halo eye. I'm not going to, but we could. We're gonna go bronzy because I want to use N2 all over my eyelid, but there are lighter options if you want for the shimmers. And this one is more of a smooth metallic shade, so it's adhering to the eyelid. Stunning. I don't know why the other one was like PC, but taking my crease brush, blending that out. And then, you know, at the end of the day, I do have a lighter skin tone, so I do want to bring some brightness. So I'm going to take just a little bit of Y2, which is a little deeper than I'd normally go for inner corner, but actually that's fine. That's perfect. And this you could also put all over the eyelid and it would be quite bright. It's this pretty metallic gold shade. Could even pop it in the center. And I think I'm going to take just a dab of C1. Just really get this nice and deep. I'm loving this. And then finishing with C3, which be careful because this is a powder. So it's going to be messier than what we used in the soft palette. And I'm just pressing this into my lash line. Taking my pointer brush, blending that out. Creating something more smoky. Two very, very different looks. All right, here are the final looks that we got. I threw on Natasha Denona Maria for the lips, just nude. And I really love how they came out. Obviously, with the dramatic palette, you don't need to get a look this dramatic. If you're my skin tone, you can get much lighter looks with the dramatic palette, and you can get deeper looks with the soft palette as well. I definitely think there can be an overlap between the two. But I got asked a lot about comparisons because neutral tones, this isn't the first time they've been done, even in Natasha Denona's line. So I have I Need a Nude, I Need a Warm, and Biba palette, so let's go over there. Now, if you're in between the two palettes and wanted a direct comparison, we have the dramatic on top and the soft on bottom. And you'll see in the swatches in a second, the soft palette, especially to the left side, the colors pull a lot more pink. So what I did is I matched up all of the color families. Obviously, dramatic is on top, soft is on bottom. So, you know, the color families will follow the dramatic rows. So peach warm, and then the next one are the yellow goldens, and then the next one are the rosy pinks. So I just matched up the color families, and look at the difference, especially here on the lighter side of the palette. It's much more pink in the soft palette. I think they kind of meet up in similar areas when we get to the deeper side of the palette. But between the two palettes, if you have both, definitely some of the shades will intertwine. They'll be very, very similar on the eye and serve similar purposes. But that's what we're working with if you wanted to see the two swatched next to each other. As heavily requested, the dramatic versus Biba. And you guys, these are very, very close. The good news is Biba is no longer sold. Well, that's actually bad news, but you can't get Biba anymore. And one of you guys, I believe it was Miri, said in my shopper drop that this is the new reinvented version kind of Biba. And I absolutely agree with that. There were a few of the lighter shades that are in the Biba that I couldn't quite match up with the shades in the dramatic, but take a look at this. Dramatic on top and what I could match up with the Biba. So very, very similar. If you love the Biba and need a little bit of a refresh, since yours is probably old now, the dramatic kind of meets that with a few additional shades. Now the formula of the Biba is creamier. It's that OG Natasha formula that she doesn't do anymore. But color-wise, and still the new formulation is still good. Very close, right? And I think the closest palette Natasha has to the soft palette would be the I Need a Nude, because it does have those pinky tones, some of the cooler tones as well. So take a closer look here. And then the top would be the soft palette, and the bottom would be what I could find was similar from the I Need a Nude. Honestly, while there of course are some similar tones, there's not as many as I thought that there would be. So that is a good thing. All right, overall thoughts about these palettes. I think the quality is very, very nice. Natasha's mattes across the board, they're all phenomenal. I had zero issues with any mattes today. The new Silky Matte formula, it's very silky, which is why my shimmer was not adhering to the lid today, so be warned. It really is a silky formula. Now the silkies I think are primarily in the soft palettes because it's easier to build up. It's more sheer by nature, which just makes sense for a lighter complexion. But of course, it's not like you don't have these deeper options here as well. The dramatic palette is going to have more of the traditional powder matte eyeshadows, but I really appreciate the fact that we've got a lot more metallics here in the center as well, which I think makes it special if you are gonna pick up both, that they are different with the different formulas that they offer and finishes that they offer. However, obviously one is gonna work better for whatever range of skin tone that you're in. I think the dramatic palette, no matter your skin tone, is gonna be pretty popular. It's a stunning palette, and I am ecstatic for my deeper complexion friends to have an all neutral palette where they're not gonna look ashy on you. So I think that that is just a big win for my melanated girls. I'm really, really excited for you. Now, of course, do you need this palette? I mean, if you have the Makeup by Mario palettes, Master Mattes, if you have any of the Viseart palettes, no, it is not a need. But this is about getting the Natasha Denona formula and having these shades available in her line. I think if you are a makeup artist, if I still did bridal makeup, I would definitely have both of these in my kit. Talk about phenomenal options here. And there's going to be overlaps. There's going to be shades that within the palette are going to look similar to one another. Across these two palettes are going to look similar to one another. Across other palettes, you have these shades. This is not a palette that is going to add anything new really to your collection if you have a collection to begin with. However, if you are low on eyeshadows and just need the good neutral tones, gradient style, these are great options. Not gonna knock the quality. Quality is great. As a neutral lover, I'm really excited about this launch, and I can tell you these are palettes I'm going to use a lot because these are the kind of shadows right now that I am using most of the time. So I'm excited about these. So I think I hit every point that I wanted. If you have any additional questions, be sure to ask down below. I hope you enjoyed this review and found it helpful. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel as I continue to use these palettes and you'll see more looks with them. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys, have a good one. Really easy application, a nice breeze, just like the concealer. And this is a light layer, and I would say it's on the lighter side of medium coverage if you just add that single layer. I'm going to show you buildability here, especially right here where I have my breakouts. Today was actually the best, most exciting mail day in months because I got in the mail a PR package, never expected but always appreciated, from Natasha Denona of the new High Glam Foundation. We'll talk about it in a second. But I also got my Ulta order where I ordered the new Charlotte Tilbury foundation. So this will be in the next wear test. I also got the Hung Bang Go makeup line in PR. What the heck? 'Tis the time of year where I don't even know what to try because there's so much to try, and I'm so stinking excited. But I had an inkling, I had a feeling that you guys would want me to get this Natasha Denona High Glam Foundation on my face. So that's what we're gonna do today for a wear test. Even though it was given in PR, you guys know I've ordered Natasha for years. I don't mind ordering, and I don't mind giving my thoughts. So they sent over 3 shades. I didn't pick mine out, but we're working with what I got, which is pretty good. I was able to get a really close match to myself. So why is this foundation a big deal? Because a couple years ago, she launched this High Glam concealer. And prior to this, her complexion line, it wasn't that good, I'm sorry. And this rocked my world. The second, you can go back and look at my review, the second it touched my skin and I blended it out, I was like, whoa. Like literal velvet. It's hydrating, it's smoothing, it's blurring, it gives full coverage, it blends itself in with minimal effort. It's just the ultimate concealer of all concealers. The only, I would say, negative to this concealer is it doesn't have as good wear time as some other concealers, but I think that has to do with the velvety hydrating nature of it, and it still wears really good with very minimal creasing, by the way. So this concealer, I love wearing it on its own. I literally love it so much. I've used it on multiple occasions as my foundation. I will mix this in with any concealer that just needs that extra shot of smoothness or hydration. This is the ultimate. It's my right-hand man. It's always by my side. And I've been saying this would kick butt in a foundation formulation. So we've all been waiting for this. We all could tell that the moment it hit our skin that this needed to be in a similar foundation formulation. It's so good that many of us have been using it as foundation. So, one thing about Natasha, she's gonna please the crowd. So, now available, now out, is the High Glam Foundation. And I get to test it out today. I'm so stinking excited. It's $52. You know, she's not cheap. She's a pretty penny. So there are 52 shades in the range. It looks pretty phenomenal. From what I can see, I mean, there's so many different undertones, which can make it overwhelming for deciding a shade. And they highlight that it's a medium buildable, hybrid blurring and self-setting radiant serum foundation. Got all of those keywords that people are looking for: blurring, radiant, serum, hydrates, then balances oils for up to 18 hours of creaseless wear. And as always with Natasha Denona, it is cruelty-free. They also say it's non-comedogenic. It just has all of the buzzwords. Now, the most important thing for me is I wanted it to be a match, a pair, to embody everything that the High Glam concealer had. And so I was looking at this giant thing they sent me in PR, and I actually saw on the outer packaging, they did this cute thing. It's kind of hard to see. High Glam Foundation Evolution Checklist. Right here, you see this, number 1. Keep my High Glam concealer concept. That's what I needed to see. I needed to see that we were starting off there. And then she added Japanese amino acid coated by, I'm not in the labs, I don't know what this means. Uses Korean technology. As far as I'm aware, what I heard when I was looking up about this foundation, she used Korean labs, she used Italian labs. The foundation itself is made in Italy. It has very clean, similar packaging to the concealer. And then here's the information on the back. Made in Italy, but formulated in Korea, because Korea right now is definitely a hot spot for cosmetic creation, and many US brands are very inspired by their formulas. I mean, Korea is just ahead of the game, so I think it's very exciting. I'm looking, at least the ones that I have, they all have the same caps. And 12-month shelf life. Now, if you're just coming across my videos, some background on my skin type, I do have dry skin. I'm quite acne prone. You can see I have some dark spots, freckles, discoloration, redness on my cheeks, and yeah, that's what we're working with. As far as skin prep today, I'm going to keep it very minimal. I don't want to add a lot of extras because I really want to see how this foundation performs by itself. So all I have on is my Kiehl's moisturizer all over my face, a little bit of SPF that I really let thoroughly soak in so it doesn't affect the wear. And we're gonna get this baby on. Now, for those of you who wanted shade match and shade comparisons to the concealer, I uploaded a quick little short video that I'm gonna play here for you. They sent me N2, P3, and YP8. I already like to mix and match with the concealer shades that I have. For reference, I use 1N as my brightening shade and 5 as my skin tone shade, and I'll mix both of these on the under eyes. I also like P3 because it's a little bit warmer, which is good for color correcting. We'll do N2 first. So this is a fair light neutral. This one is P3. They describe it as a light peach. This is YP8. It's obviously not going to work for me, but I suspect might be good for mixing and changing undertones of other foundations. This is a medium yellow. Obviously, they can't shade match me. So this is what they sent me with the intention that I'd probably have to mix some shades. For me, N2 is my closest match. For my perfect match, I'd probably mix in a little bit of P3. See, yeah. Blended out N2 can definitely work, but I think with a hint of P3, it will be a perfect match. There's a lot of different shade options online. I think if I were purchasing, I might do N3, fair light neutral, or N4, a light neutral. But hopefully this helped. Also guys, This is officially available everywhere, at Ulta, at Sephora, at the Natasha Denona website. I personally, when it comes to her eyeshadow palettes, I always recommend purchasing from the Natasha Denona website because they always package things really well. Less room for error in a foundation, but I did just have an Ulta order come in like the most least protective packaging ever, so I'm always a little unsure if I want to recommend Ulta shipping. Now with the shades that they sent me, I would say I don't have my perfect match. I probably would have gone maybe N3 or N4, but N2 is pretty close. It's just, I think, a little bit too cool tone on me. So taking N2, that will be the majority of the color that I'm using, but they sent along P3. I know this is unhelpful because you don't want to have to purchase multiple shades. I'm working with what I got, but this has a little bit more warmth and depth in it, and I'm just adding a little bit of that makes it pretty darn perfect. So this is a good mix for me. Let's get it on. I'm gonna start off, I will use my finger, I'm just kidding, you know. Ooh, wait, that's satisfying. You know how they do that with the Korean skin tools? Anyways, I do typically like to use my finger. I find it warms up that product, doesn't waste any product. And can you see how good and smooth this is blending out by itself? Add just a little bit more for my cheeks. Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Come closer. And now at this point, I'm gonna take a foundation brush. I'm using the IT Cosmetics number 7 brush. It's one of my favorites for foundation, and I'm just gonna push the product in, but we already did most of the work with our finger to push it in, but really easy application, a nice breeze, just like the concealer. And this is a light layer, and I would say it's on the lighter side of medium coverage if you just add that single layer. I'm gonna show you buildability here, especially right here where I have my breakouts. So a little behind the scenes. I'm also filming this review for a TikTok. So I've already applied this for the TikTok portion, and I've taken it all off. And this is my second application for the long form video. And then I'll continue wearing this look that I filmed for the long form video for the rest of the day, even documenting it on the shorts. But the point is, this is my second time applying it. And it's given, you guys. It gave the first time, which is why I came in with such high energy. Because this is exactly what I was hoping from this foundation. Does it feel like it's in the High Glam concealer line? Yes. That was the most important thing to me. I was hoping that it was gonna actually be like the High Glam concealer, and it is. It's just thinner, I would say. It's more lightweight. I have no problems throwing that concealer on as foundation and blending it out. But with this foundation, since it's thinner, you're able to apply it to a larger surface area and it doesn't feel too heavy. So you get the most even coverage with this. What is this? I did not mean to grab the BK Beauty 109, but we'll use it. Get around the brow. Let's do a little half and half situation so you can see the difference. The coverage is definitely buildable from a medium standpoint. I don't think it's super duper full coverage. It's not the most full coverage foundation I've ever used, so I don't think it's gonna get you there, where the concealer is pretty full coverage, but I think using the concealer with this foundation will get you a pretty full coverage glam look. I tend to prefer a medium coverage, so I'm not bothered by that, but it looks good, right? It looks really smooth and really blurred, which is what I liked about the finish of the concealer all over the face. It still has that aspect. You guys know I have quite textured skin, and there's only certain foundations that give this really smooth look that I'm going for right off the bat, and this one does. So I can instantly tell this might end up being a favorite foundation depending on the wear time. It's all relying on that because I love the way it looks on the skin. And you know, it claims to be hydrating. It feels hydrating on my dry skin. I don't see it emphasizing any dry patches. Blurring, yes, and luminous. Now, it's not super wet, glowy, But you can see it is not a flat foundation. It does give a nice radiance to the skin. What I can say is if you're a fan of the concealer, this so far is working up to be exactly what we had all hoped the foundation version was going to be. I just love when I can be positive like this. Seriously. You guys know I'm a picky person and I'll nitpick at things. It's so refreshing when it just does what it's supposed to do and how I wanted it to do it. I'm gonna add, just for this little quarter of the face, just a little bit more. I didn't use too much product to cover the face. I think maybe like a pump and a half because I'm a little extra, but I'm already making the bottle dirty and disgusting. I mean, you guys know, filter-free, studio lights, DSLR HD camera, 4K, just about. Do I do 4K? I don't know. Anyways, zoomed in. Can't lie about the finish here at all. And it looked beautiful in front of the window lighting as well when I was filming with this earlier. And it's actually covering the nose pretty nicely as well. Just looks so velvety on the skin. I like don't want to put anything over top. Now they do claim this is self-setting. I'm gonna do minimal setting today, but it is my normal makeup routine to do some setting, so that's what I'm gonna do. Let's put on the concealer now. I was asked, and this was a good question, if it was similar to the Haus Labs foundation, and it is. It has a similar finish to the Haus Labs. I'd have to do a side-by-side comparison to really give you the nitty-gritty, but that's why I also love that Haus Labs foundation, because it gives a velvety look to the skin. This one gives that as well. So I just mixed N1 and N5 for the concealer, and I'm trying not to bring it too low because this is just about the foundation, but these are match made in heaven. This foundation and concealer combo. Pop this over my eyelids. I have so much new makeup to play with. I'm like, what do I want to play with today for the look? For complexion, I'm not going to do pretty much anything new, so I'm familiar with what I'm putting on. So good. I really, really hope this wears well because it looks so good. Okay, so I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup. I'll put a timestamp in case you're not interested in anything else that I'm wearing, but I need to play with some other new makeup. So we're going to do that. Okay, I've been loving this new Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Under Eye Setting Powder. Specifically applying it with this camouflage powder brush from Laura Mercier. I find that it's so finely milled, and with this application, it locks in the concealer for very, very minimal creasing without going overboard. So I'm just going to lightly set my eyes with that. Might as well do the eyelid as well. I'm trying to go pretty minimal with powder today because I'll use powder bronzer and blush. I don't want to use cream bronzer and blush today because I really just don't want it to affect the wear time. I really want this to work. I'm just going to take whatever's left in my cap from the Laura Mercier powder. I'm going to get right here because I always set the T-zone right here. And that's all I'm going to do for powder setting. But let's use the soft blurring bronzer. This is the Hung Van Gogh soft blurring bronzer. They sent the shade Straightforward to me, so I'm just going to use that. And these products will work to set wherever I applied it. So that's why I didn't apply powder to my cheeks. Okay, wow. I was worried with how this looked that it was going to be splotchy or too pigmented. The name soft blurring is really accurate. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, that's a gorgeous soft blur. And this is what I got in my Ulta order today. I wanted to try one of the new Ilia Soft Focus blurring blushes. The shade Glimpse, how pretty does that look? So we'll use this as the blush today. Hopefully it's not too light. This color is going to be really pretty on somebody fair. Okay, gorgeous. And that's going to be it for complexion. I really did add a lot of powder, so that took away the glow that the foundation gave. If you want to keep that glow, what you would do is apply cream products instead and really precise placement of powder if you are going to use it. But this is how I normally wear my makeup, so I'm going to be able to accurately tell how this foundation wears. And what I'm hoping after a couple hours, after the makeup settles into the skin and my natural oils start to come through, that glow is going to come back out. I might as well do a little quickie eye tutorial. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm not diving in too heavy to Hung Van Gogh's line. That's for tomorrow. But I did get one of his eyeshadows, the new neutral. Of course, I'm reaching for. Great way to tell a formula is with the neutrals. So we're just going to do a basic look today. This, almost a little satiny. There's just too much good new makeup to test, you guys. I promise you I'll do a full video on what I got from Hung Van Gogh. I'll do a full wear test on the Charlotte Tilbury reformulated foundation. But today's about Natasha Denona. But of course, because I was so excited about all I got in the mail today, I'm like trying to find a way to squeeze it all in my face. Let's add some depth. Nice. Good pigment, easy blend. Do a nice cream shade. Ooh, that's a good cream. These shadows are blending like air onto the eye. They're just like rolling over the skin. I don't know how to describe it. Okay, we gotta see. This isn't like a wet, creamy formula. It's a drier formula. But that drier formula is really making that blend so easily. This is pretty. It kind of gives a little bit of a scattered light effect on the eye. I think that's all I'm going to do for the eyes. I'll finish with this shade as liner. I mean, this is so far turning out to be a good neutrals palette, but we have much more to play with. As far as that line goes, I'm going to finish up the rest of my makeup, but I think that's everything you needed to see in terms of going over the foundation. It's a good makeup day. Obviously, at this point, right, you don't need to set with powder, so your skin would be glowier if you want to keep the glow, but I wanted to keep the wear test fair to how I always do my wear tests, and I'm interested to see if the glow comes back. But regardless, with setting, I mean, my skin, I feel like, looks so smooth and so blurred. And the eyeshadow look turned out really pretty as well. What am I wearing on my lips? Fenty Rubber Bands with Natasha Denona Noah lipstick. And that's the look today. I'll have all of the other stuff I'm wearing linked down below as well. But here's how we're looking. I'll get the back of my iPhone in front of the window for you. But so far, it's a 10 out of 10. I'm hoping this wears so well throughout the day, because I'm going to be so happy to report back if this is exactly what we wanted. But so far, my dry skin is loving it. So I'll check in a few with you guys. Okay, so here's in front of the window. I just wanted for you guys to see iPhone back camera. It's looking good and fresh. This is the fresh application, not a wear test yet. I just wanted to show you. You guys know how the iPhone likes to sharpen everything. We are already 4 hours into the wear test. I haven't touched up anything. This Fenty lip liner lasts such a long time. I just ate a late lunch. Okay, I will admit, you guys, I have not done anything strenuous today. The strenuous days really are a good day to do a wear test. Out of breath. The steps, man. But I'm feeling crampy right now. I've been needing to lay down, give my body some rest, but I mean, everything looks pretty phenomenal. Everything looks pretty much the same. I will say the glow has not come back through yet, and I really do think that's because I've been laying on my backside and not doing anything for the oils to come through. But everything looks pretty untouched. And normally foundations look good at this point for me unless they're really bad. Because I have drier skin, there's not much to challenge the product. But I mean, I'm really happy. I no notes. Everything looks the same right now. Oh, that was my alarm to come up and show you guys what's going on. But not much. I definitely am gonna get out later this evening once my cramping goes down. Sorry, I don't mean to complain. Everything looks fabulous makeup-wise, and I'm telling you, I swear this has nothing to do with the foundation, but doing that Laura Mercier technique makes my concealer wear so good. Just admiring everything about today's look. Anyways, we'll catch you up. I have the next alarm set for 2 hours, but if it looks the same as now, I'll see you even later in the day. Oh my goodness, it is late. I've done like a 10-hour wear test. Truthfully, I fell asleep on the couch, so if it's faded, I was sleeping on my left side, but my makeup looks incredible. My nose is running a bit from eating dinner, and it's maybe slightly messed up, but really not that noticeable. Even more amazing, my smile lines. There aren't any. Every foundation goes into my smile lines. Now, I want you to keep in mind, I did not have the most strenuous day. There was no perspiration happening on my face, which I know is like super important in a wear test. I could not today. It's cool outside now. Fall is here. I'm not sweating no more. But I definitely, of course, as you know, if you're subscribed to my channel, will be wearing this foundation many times more. So I will definitely be able to tell you at some point soon how it does with perspiration, just long days and all of that. But it looks incredible. You guys, this is exactly what I was hoping from this foundation. My oils didn't really come through, like the powder really held the oils at bay. So that did ultimately get rid of that glow. But if I used less powders, the glow would be present still. But I mean, my makeup has stayed exactly as I left it, which is pretty darn incredible. So far, first impressions, this might be a new favorite. This is, if it continues working out this well, this is definitely a new favorite, top of the list kind of foundation. This is everything I was hoping it would be thus far. So I can't wait to continue wearing this foundation. But Natasha, you did it. I'm sorry, the expectations were really high on this. So she couldn't fail, and she did not fail. So let me know if you guys have tried this foundation out, what your skin type is, what your experience with it is. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You see my skin. I have not a bad word about it. So hope you guys enjoyed this review. I was so excited to get this up for you. I put this on my face as soon as I could, and I was not left disappointed. So make sure you like and subscribe to my channel for more. Next foundation wear test, I'm testing the new Charlotte Tilbury, which Charlotte Tilbury, I don't love her foundations, so I'm interested to see how that will go. And yeah, stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
It's delicious.